This is a World of Warcraft on shifting tides. World of Warcraft on shifting tides. Massive spoilers ahead. Massive spoilers ahead. Okay, so hello friends that both love and loathe the World of Warcraft. Today I have come before you with the actual leak to the next expansion that I, and hopefully you, will be able to play in the distant future. All my information has come from Blizzard developers that have walked out during the class agreements. I am unable to give names of these unsung heroes that has bestowed this knowledge upon me. I am simply a secretary that happens to be at the right place at the right time. Together, let's see what World of Warcraft's future has in store for us. Immediately, bang! We're getting some information. It's people that are apparently, you know, they're disfranchised, you know, they're disappointed in what's been going on, and they've walked out, and they just want to get all those secrets out there. So, you know, we're getting immediately, we're getting, you know, some confirmation that this could be a real leak. This could be a real leak. So, here we go. The wrap-up. The wrap-up. During the journey through Zereth Mortis, we face the cultivation of life and death. The creators that make all matter on Azeroth exist seem to be within our grasp. During this time, we learn from these divine entities to create and break down the very fabric of essences and nature, but soon enough we come face to face with the gates of oblivion known as Sepulchre of the First Ones. It is within Zoval's domain that all our might and fortuity will be tested. The heroes of Azeroth will come before all matters of creatures, from Zoval's domination, corruption that infests and stirs the hearts of unruly creatures that force life in existence, to the security protocols that don't want the world of the living there. We will face all of them, but after all that we come to the crux of our goal, to save Anduin Wrynn. It is through the harlot of this glorious battle that everything the champions of Azeroth have been through will be tested. Mind, body, and the very soul that forges onward, unrelenting and unyielding. I don't know about you, but some of the grammar and the spelling of this is not great. I mean, this is just one whole sentence, and I'll see if I can read it in one go. And see if this makes any sense to you. From Zoval's domination, corruption that infests and stirs the hearts of unruly creatures that force life in existence, to the security protocols that don't want the world of the living there. That's a hell of a line. That's a lot to unpack there. So, but grammar, it could be them typing it down very, very quickly. Could be them typing it down super quickly because they want to get this leak out on the internet because it is real. It needs to go onto MMO Champion. During this epic battle, a long and forgotten soul plagues the stage. Arthas whispers through the lion's ears, but within the priest's mind, he hears the demands of Zoval. The Dark Lady knows that tone all too well from both the Lich King and the Jailer. She pulls from her dusty robes the only thing that will bring the King of Stormwind back to the light, a soul shard. A shard that cracks beneath the crooks of her fingers, and to the King's shock, he sees another soul that reflects through the eyes of the beholder. Varian. Varian apparently back, and at no point did Sylvanas mention that she had Anduin's soul. Varian's soul, sorry. Which is very, very strange. It is with Varian's warrior's heart and father's intuition that purifies the twin blades of Charlemagne. The weapon's blazing fire burns away the domination corruption, and thus the day is won for the moment. After an emotional goodbye to Varian, Jaina ventures forth with her company and the champions of Azeroth, leaving Anduin and Varian alone. Excuse me. They both share one soldery moment before Varian's soul flows away into the brink of day. Yeah, exactly. I'm simply a secretary, but I have been told everything. I have been told absolutely everything. They share a soldery moment. I wonder what a soldery moment. Soldieri. I'm assuming solitary? I'm assuming solitary moment? That's supposed to be what it is? So, the champions come to one final battle. With the king saved, all that is left is Zoval. Well, that's not true, because there are two bosses in between Anduin and Zoval. You've got Rygalon and Lords of Dread, which you can take in any way you want. You can do either of them. It's not that
for the Horde.
Exactly, Renchi. There are more. There are more there. So, it is here that the heroes of the Horde and Alliance face their final challenge and learn who the Jailer is and his plan. Horde misspelled, by the way. Zovaal was once a powerful arbiter with the sole purpose of passing judgment. A dark whisper of a dying man tortures his ear like fire burning flesh. A voice that forces his divine nature to propel one simple and yet difficult... To propel one simple and yet difficult question. Why? As time passes, he grows more unstable to the point where darkness has overtaken him, and thus the Primus locks him away within the base of a tower that we would come to know as Tower of the Damned. Throughout this battle, memories of Zovaal spill into reality, shape-shifting the minds of our champions. The memories become the battlefield, but tell the entire story. Zovaal's goal is to recreate the fundamental identity of life, and to recreate that ideology. The first soul created by the first ones must be destroyed. Azeroth. The Jailer plans is nearly completed. The Jailer plans is nearly completed. Yeah, the Jailer plans is nearly completed. He successfully fends off their heroes as well as brings Azeroth to its knees until he sees the robed first one, and once his eyes linger for just 1 second among them, he reverts and becomes deactivated. Just as quickly as they came, the robed one is gone and Zovaal is a husk. But the cosmic damage from the engine of Certation. Ah yes, the engine of Certation. That's my favourite. Certation is my favourite engine. The cosmic damage from Engine of Certation has already taken its toll on Azeroth. Victory never comes without ramifications. So that is okay. That's very strange. That's very strange. That this road one just appears and then Zovaal deactivates. I'm not feeling this so far. I'm not feeling this leak. I don't know if you are. It feels a little bit strange. For now, we tie up the elephant in the room, the Dark Lady and her fate. At the end of our journey, there will be a new Arbiter. Full disclosure, the developers did not tell me who would be taking this role. There were multiple people talking to me at the same time and a lot to take notes on. We already know who the new Arbiter is going to be because of PTR and data mining. So the newly appointed Arbiter will decide the Dark Lady's fate. Jaina, Bane and even Thrall want her in the Maw, but that is not the plan. She instead goes to Revendreth, where Prince Renathal personally sees her sins. Sylvana spends the rest of eternity atoning for her crimes. Everything is in place. Our heroes say their goodbyes to friends new and old and return to the world that once brought them to the afterlife, only to find their home in disarray. How would Sylvanas go to Revendreth? She's not a soul. She's technically more alive now than she was. Now that she's had her half of the soul returned to her, she's more alive now than she was how? Because they can't. She's alive. How are they doing anything with her in Revendreth? That makes no sense. That makes no sense. I'm not sure about you, but this is not off to a good start. But all of the developers were disgruntled, so they're just simply a secretary that was right place, right time, and they had several developers talking to them, telling them everything about the latest expansion. So once again, I don't know about you, but I do believe them. I currently believe them. So, enter World of Warcraft on Shifting Tides. 10.0.0. Table of Contents. Introduction, because we haven't had that yet. 2 new zones, a new class changes, dungeons design and philosophy, raids and story, player versus player, progression systems, final thoughts. It's nice that this secretary was basically speaking to every single person from every single team that works on World of Warcraft. Like, they've had encounter designers, story designers, class designers, environment designers, everything. They've had everything. They've had the entire team talking to them. This secretary must have been going crazy typing all this down, or even shorthanding it. This secretary must have been going crazy. Okay. So introduction, 2 phases of pre-patch. Phase 1. A mystical voice renders through the ears of our champion of Azeroth. I don't know about you, but I've never had a voice render through my ears. The tone and pitch sound like an old father figure that has been long since forgotten. The last time we saw this mage was during the times of old. Khadgar's voice always stims differently from the others, so when he speaks, our champions know something has darkened our land. Does Khadgar's voice stim differently? That's such an odd choice of words. The mage informs us that the cries of Azeroth were so great that the blade pierced through her heart has all but shattered. At the wound, creatures mixed with fell remnants and domination magic have been wreaking havoc. Why domination magic? Domination magic wouldn't be there. Domination magic wouldn't be at the sword. That must have been a misunderstanding. Maybe they meant Azerite. I think they just they couldn't read their own shorthand when they were talking to the entire development team. So it's up to the champions to clear out these new creatures and heal the wound, though Khadgar informs us that there is something else on the horizon. Phase 2. The Kirin Tor summons our hero to Dalaran and they meet Khadgar, who informs us about the situation that has been happening since Azeroth's cries. Creatures that are not of this world keep shifting into our reality. It seems the title of the first soul created, Azeroth, is connected to all other intelligent planets and world souls. So apparently there are more world souls out there, even though they state that Azeroth is the last world soul. So that's our first retcon. We've got more world souls out there, so we've got to deal with those. When the jailer tried to recreate life, because as we know it, life is no longer in our reality, they had to recombine all souls into the first one to recreate everything at once. Since the hero stopped the jailer midway through the process, Azeroth has been experiencing temporal shifting, bringing creatures into our planet and small island land masses. So, wait, hang on. When the jailer tried to recreate life, they had to combine all souls into the first one to recreate everything at once. So since the... Wait, what? So all the souls went into the first one to recreate everything at once, but we stopped the jailer midway through the process, so Azeroth is experiencing temporal shifting. Does anybody feel as though that seems to be a step missed there? Once again, miscommunication. They were talking to the entirety of the development team as a secretary. All of the disgruntled employees spoke to them at the same time. They probably missed something. So, again, a big leak. All of the information. We'll go from there. So the champions of the Horde and Alliance are tasked with investigating these new creatures and taking out the monsters that threaten our world. In time, the Kirin Tor has solved the problem and is able to seal some temporal shifting. But in doing so, the power of the arcane mixed with the calamity that is happening shifts 2 new continents into our world, the Dragon Isle and Blackfire Ziggurat. Thus, the journey of the shifting tides has begun. Kirin Tor, by the way, spelled wrong there. But once again, they're typing it down quickly. I'm not surprised they are spelling it wrong. 2 new zones. The Dragon Isle. The isle consists of 5 divided zones, each zone designed after the Dragonflight aspects. No surprises there. The otherworldly aspects have suffered a great number of casualties during the temporal shift, killing their versions of the Black Dragonflight and the Green Dragonflight. The heroes arrive and help the remaining Dragonflights to recreate the missing flights so that they may return to their planet. However, unlike the aspects on Azeroth, there is a 6th flight that tries to stop them at every turn. The White Dragonflight. Ooh, the White Dragonflight. Why we would have a different bunch of dragons, I'm not entirely sure. Again, seems very, very strange because there were very specific situations on Azeroth that allowed the Dragonflights to exist. So this planet also had the exact same situation where the Dragonflights existed. And they have a 6th one. The White Dragonflight has been infused by the power of the light and the power of an aspect. Their ideology is simple: submit to the light or perish. The other flights have been at war with them since their fusion with the light. This war has turned the Dragon Isle into a battlefield. Okay. So we have White Dragonflight. We basically have Power Rangers now. The White Ranger has entered the battlefield, but in dragon form. Maybe we'll get a Dragon Zord. The Dragon Isles has 4 dungeons with their own unique stories. By the end of the storyline, Rathian takes it upon himself to fill the role of the Black Dragonflight and works on restoring the order for the newly found aspects. Ysera gets reborn from Ardenweald and will become the new Green Black Dragonflight aspect for the time being. Wasn't Ysera already the Green Dragonflight aspect? And they haven't had a new one? As far as I'm aware. So... Why would there be an... She wouldn't be a new one. She'd just be the same... It would be... She'd retake the mantle. She wouldn't be a new one. The story stops until the 10.0.5 raid. I will get to it later. Okay. Blackfire Ziggurat. This zone is supposed to be a void zone that has been warped into Azeroth. It's also an endgame zone. Not much is known about it other than it's supposed to function like Suramar and that there are 4 dungeons within the zone. I was told that this will be where the 10.1.0 raid will be. If I had to guess, this would be the intro to a Void Lord. Oh, this would be the intro to a Void Lord. Once again, having all the development team talking to them, probably misread their shorthand. You know, spelling mistakes, not a problem, not a problem. Expected in the leak when they're typing this much information down. Velen and Tyrion should play a big part in this zone. As we all know, Velen has been gearing up for the Light versus Void War, and Tyrion is the champion of Light. Didn't Tyrion die in Legion? Where is Tyrion come from? Where is Tyrion, by the way, spelt wrong? Where is Tyrion come from? Like, oh no, I get it again. Entire development team talking. Turalyon. It's probably Turalyon. That's probably what's happened. Once again, there's a lot of miscommunication. There's so many voices of the, you know, the raid team and the environment team and the class team and the music team and everything like that. So there's a lot of issues there. Okay, new class. So once again, even though Blizzard can't currently balance the classes they have, they're going to add a new class in. So this one's called Scoundrel. Scoundrel. The name is subject to change to Ranger instead, though Blizzard likes ripping off their own ideas and putting said idea into WoW, so I won't bet on it. The Scoundrel is a mercenary you can hire in Diablo 3. If it's your idea, you can't rip it off. If it's your idea, you can't rip off your own idea. That's not how that works. It's not how that works at all. Okay. So, lore. Lore. After the citizens of both Orgrimmar, again, it's fine, not a problem. Lots of communication, shorthand, not quite typing it out correctly. Understand it. And Stormwind witness the death, destruction, and famine plaguing their world. They rise to fight. Gammon leads the people of Orgrimmar, while Harlan Bagley riles the citizens of the Alliance. Thus, they both train the citizens in the art of a bow, the strike of a sword and dagger, and the minstrel of courage. Okay, only classical races can be a scoundrel, starts at level 1, and it's a male class. 3 specializations. There's Warden, range damage, Pugilist, melee damage, and Bard, healer/support. Okay, so Warden. The Warden is based around using a bow as well as a dagger. They are built around being able to use throwing weapons as well as using a bow. The Warden is based around using a bow as well as a dagger. They are built around being able to use throwing weapons as well as using a bow. Okay, I think they may have spoken to 2 different class design devs on that day, and then they just put all the information they got, which obviously repeats. It makes sense. It's not as if, you know, while typing up this fanfiction, there'd be a delete key that you could get rid of a line and proofread it, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think... I mean, look at how detailed this is. In no way, shape, or form would this be made up. People just wouldn't go onto the internet and lie. It was described to me as a ranger, where in most fantasy they would shoot their bow, run out of arrows, and then throw their weapon. The only difference in this is that throwing weapon is retractable, so I assumed that a bow and a dagger in the offhand would be the weapons. The spec is also a build-up and spends with using focus to build with your bow and then throwing your dagger to spend. So it's a ranged class, and you throw your dagger. Once you've thrown your dagger, how do you pick it up again? Do you have to run into melee to pick it up and then run back out again to throw it? Because you've only got one. You've only got one dagger. There's no throwing... Like, throwing weapons aren't even in the game. And that's a good point, built around being able to use throwing weapons, unless we've got a leak within a leak. A double leak. So not only are they leaking what the expansion is going to be about, they're leaking that throwing weapons are coming back. This is big. This is big. This is huge. That's amazing. So, Pugilist. This is a melee class that uses both a one-hander in the main and a dagger in the other. So, a one-hander. It is supposed to show the balance of attack and using a defender on the other hand for defense. So, like a shield. Like a shield. As a defender. It's built around the same concept as a Fury Warrior mixed with rogue utility, often having a short burst of damage throughout the existing rotation rather than using a cooldown then rotation. Not to say that there aren't cooldowns. Okay, so it's a Fury Warrior. Because Fury Warrior has Rampage, which is a short burst throughout the existing rotation. Which, again, is very, very strange. Bard. This specialization uses the new weapon in-game, a gamba or viol. Okay, so the new weapon is a gamba or viol, which I'm assuming is a violin. So throwing weapons, we're not getting back in, but Warden is getting throwing weapons. Remember that. Okay, so with it, the Bard can send out a short burst of heals to multiple targets, as well as give short buffs to their comrades. The mechanics of this specialization is to place well-timed buffs on your party members, then heal them during moments of damage. With that being said, there is a tone of buffs that are 10 to 15 seconds long that the Bard can apply. One skill was described to me called the Wandering Minstrel, where the Bard sends out a 5-second shield to all party members, and with the shield, they take no damage. So, the Wandering Minstrel gives a 5-second shield to all party members where they take no damage. I don't know about you, but I think Bard is going to be pretty strong when it comes out. I think Bard is going to be massively strong when it comes out. Good lord. Another spell is called Rally the People, which gives party members 15% strength, agility, and intellect for 10 seconds. 15? That's 50. I just want to point that out. 15% strength, agility, and intellect for 10 seconds. I just want that remembered. 15% strength and agility for 10 seconds. What? Class changes. Okay, here we go. Let's see some class changes alongside what's going on. Each existing class will be getting a new specialization apart from druids. So not only are we adding a brand new class with three separate specializations, and obviously we've also got only 3 specializations for the new scoundrel class, even though all classes are now getting a 4th specialization, which is interesting. Each existing class will be getting a new specialization apart from druids. However, they only shared 3 of these new specializations with me because the other ones are still being debated in terms of what they should do. Okay, so we're still getting information, but talking to all the development teams, talking to the raid devs, the encounter devs, talking to the class devs, the environment devs, the story devs, getting all of this information. This must have been a great day for this secretary. So take this with a grain of salt, because this was shaky ground for them and they often changed what they said, but I still was able to get 3 clear specs for the 3 added classes. So during this conversation, that explains why there's so many mistakes, because they were getting all this various different information. So Death Knight, Necromancy comes to the Death Knight, being able to wield much more ghouls and even skeletons. So not only a Death Knight is going to be able to wield ghouls, they will finally be able to wield skeletons, despite the fact that Death Knights have been able to wield skeletons since they were introduced in Wrath of the Lich King. But apart from that, they can now wield skeletons. They are a melee spec that use bone-based skells and curse debuffs on their foes and buffs on their undead pets, inspired by the Diablo 2 Necromancer. There we go, so they're ripping off Diablo now. They're ripping off their own game. Which doesn't make sense, because you can't rip off something you've already created. Monk Soul Fist comes to the Monk. Soul Fist is a great band name. I cannot wait for Soul Fist Monks. The spec is a ranged, agility-based damage, where the Monk channels their chi and turns the energy into devastation projectiles. Inspired by the skill Chi Wave. Okay, I cannot wait to turn my energy into devastation projectiles. That's going to be so cool. Demon Hunter, Render, comes to the Demon Hunter. A spec that heals their allies by attaching bits and pieces of their soul back together. Inspired by the intro Demon Hunter questline, where a Soul Render Demon Hunter restored another Demon Hunter by attaching their soul back together. So we're going to get Demon Hunter healers now. Demon Hunter healers. And this is all going to be perfectly balanced, of course, alongside the new Scoundrel that only has 3 specs and every other class is going to get 4 specs. Which is obviously how they're going to be able to balance it. Okay, here we go. Dungeons. We're getting close. We're getting close to the end here, so stick with me now. There's been a lot of information, but how do you think this secretary felt? They had all of this information told to them by employees that had walked out of Blizzard. They had all this information thrown at them. So, dungeons. The philosophy of dungeons is going to play a big part in the progression systems. In short, you should be able to get currencies throughout the expansion by doing any content, but even more so with dungeons. Okay, so dungeons are going to be the main focus of this expansion. Dungeons are going to be the main, they're going to push everybody to do dungeons. PvP is being pushed to the side, everybody's going dungeons. For example, for those that delve into Mythic Pluses, you should get higher currency rewards depending on how high you climb. With each update to the expansion, the rewards are also added on and never subtracted. I was told that the plan is to put dungeons at the front of the 3 pillars of content, and there should always be a reason for players to run Heroics, Mythic, and Mythic Pulse. Again, another leak within a leak. Mythic Pulse. A new version of Mythic Pulse, where your heart rate has to remain above a certain point, otherwise the dungeon ends. Keanu Reeves is going to host it, he's going to introduce it. Mythic Pulse, I cannot wait, and I can't wait for all of the players to be really excited that they've decided to push dungeons to the front of the 3 pillars of content, so there's no real reason for you to raid or PvP if you can do dungeons. Okay. So, raids and story. For now, there is only one raid that has any solid information, and that is the raid from the Dragon Isles. Though if I had to guess, there will be 2 other raids as far as the story is concerned, or 1 more raid and a mega dungeon. The Dragon Isle raid is dubbed Wrath of the Creators. Though this may change due to how on the nose it is. So, the devs have already noticed that this is a little bit on the nose. There will be a dungeon, one of the 4 on the Dragon Isles, that introduce what the White Dragonflight can do, which is the power of creation, turning prototype dragons into scales and blood ones. So we've got prototype dragons now. Excited, maybe we'll see that White Dragon Zord. Rathian takes a select few heroes to investigate the power of the White Dragonflight and journey into an unknown mountain. At the end of the dungeon, the Black Prince and the heroes find out the true power behind the flight. Thus, Rathian prepares and plans a raid to attack the White Dragonflight on their home turf. The raid ends with the aspect of the White Dragonflight kneeling over in defeat. Rethan? We've got a new character, Rethan, kills him and takes his heart out. With the power of creation in his hands, he will restore the Black Dragonflight on the Isles and Azeroth. Okay, so we've got the White Dragonflight being introduced and immediately killed within the first raid. So, completely negating anything that's going on with them and a continued storyline with the Dragonflights, because these Dragon Isles have come from a different world that also have dragon aspects and Dragonflights. Again, I feel as though once... And we've got Rethan, a new character, Rethan. I think that, once again, shorthand with all the developers talking to them. Again, mistakes made. So, player versus player. Very little was given to me about PvP. Is that probably because, as somebody who writes these, you don't actually play PvP? We just know that there will be 2 new arenas and 2 new battlegrounds. 2 new battlegrounds. They did mention another mode for PvP, but take that with a grain of salt. The mode they mentioned is called Last Man Standing, which would be a battle royale of about 10 to 15 players fighting until only one remains. I mean, Last Man Standing, PvP, I can't consider any way that there are some classes that could... There's no way that some classes could be better than this. Better at this than some others. I feel like it's just going to be an even playing field. At no point is any class going to pull out ahead of any other. I can't see that happening. I mean, Battle Royale, Last Man Standing. Let's get some Battle Royale PvP in Warcraft. But you won't have to do it, though, because dungeons are obviously the pillar that they want you to go down. So, progression systems. World shaping, that's a name, is the progression system of the expansion in which the heroes must repair the dimensional shifts that have been appearing within Azeroth. Upon completing dailies and quests, you can spend the currency received to progress through the world shaping skill tree, which gives you benefits out in the open world. The system will not impact your character directly, however. The development team alludes to another system that will directly impact your character, but with no time gating. I'm really exciting as well that this world-shaping tree, this world-shaping skill tree, gives us benefits out in the open world, but they don't impact our character. I'm excited to see exactly how we can get the benefits, what benefits we will have that don't impact our character. That'll be pretty exciting to see how that's not going to impact our character, and the fact that they're adding in another system on top of it as well, straight from the off. But we can do dungeons. We can do lots of dungeons. That's okay, because there's no time gating. So, final thoughts. All information comes from the development team that walked out and spoke out of anger and rage rather than an actual interview. Thus, some information is more detailed than others. Personally, all information is true to my knowledge, and the sources are in fact reliable. In other words, trust me, bro. I hope this helps people to decide whether or not to make this game thrive once more. For those players who love this game and have played it for a decade, the community is not what it used to be, even though the game has been out for 17 years. The best part of logging into World of Warcraft is playing with your friends, hopping in Ventrilo and talking to people that you otherwise could not. It is the people that make this game... Hang on. The best part of logging into World of Warcraft is playing with your friends, hopping in Ventrilo and talking to people that you otherwise could not. Can you not still do that? Can you not still just log into Discord and talk to people that you wouldn't otherwise talk to? Is that literally not what still happens? It is the people that make this game, and I hope this leak is enough to make the community resub or decide rather or not to unsub. I hope this leak is enough to make the community resub or decide rather or not to unsub. Wording there's a little bit off. Thank you for taking the time to read, and I hope leak season gives you all something excited to look forward to. Well, I am looking forward to On-Shifting Tides. I'm looking forward to us having new specs for every single class, apart from obviously the new class, the Scoundrel, which only gets 3, but all of the classes get a 4th spec. And I'm excited for dungeons being the only reason to play the game, because why raid when you can get everything that you would need realistically from dungeons? And PvP just has a battle royale that in no way, shape or form could possibly be ruined by, you know, the variances in various different specs, unless they just homogenized every single class out there. But they can't do that because obviously class changes. Death Knights get to wield skeletons. Death Knights have never been able to do that. They've never been able to wield skeletons. And the fact that the Bard has, you know, the Rally the People spell, which gives party members 15% strength, agility, and intellect for 10 seconds. You know, that's got to happen. I mean, who would write something that ridiculous unless it was true? And this person spoke to all the devs. This person spoke to all the devs that walked out. This has to be true. So you heard it here. You heard it here first, folks. 10.0 On-Shifting Tides. That's the new expansion. I'm just kidding, it's not at all. This leak is completely fabricated, and good lord, there is so much information and it is all so wrong. It's all so wrong. Why would you take the time to do this? It's awful.